Hello everyone and welcome to a really special edition episode of Chasing the Grail. Today you'll see that Tristan is not with us, but I'm joined by two really special guests. I'll come to that in a second. Probably you can see Craig's background, so you can see the watch brand that we're going to be representing today. But we've also got something really special planned for later in the episode, which is the unveiling of a very special one-of-one watch, which we're going to be auctioning for charity. So stay with us because that is really one that you are not going to want to miss. So it's with great pleasure to introduce Sarah and Craig from Golby Watches. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Good evening. How are we?
I think I'm better than you, Craig, operating on however little sleep you've currently had.
I'm very jet lagged, and I can't even tell you how many hours I've been up for. But yeah, I'll try my best to get through this and make some sense as we go along.
I struggle to make sense a lot of the time.
As well. Sorry, George.
You did indeed.
Yeah.
No, and we'll absolutely dig into that a little bit, guys, because obviously you've just been all over the world, you know, showcasing what you do at two really cool events, and you've had a launch, and so thank you so much for making time for me and for this. It's really appreciated.
No, thank you for inviting us. It means a lot.
Yeah. So on this podcast, and not to put you guys on the spot, given you're both jet lagged and tired, we do have a bit of a tradition, and we call that What's on the Wrist. So, guys, can I ask you what you have on your wrist today?
You go first, Sarah. I'll let you go.
Okay. I've managed to get a skipping stone on my wrist, which is great because the weekend I wasn't allowed to wear them because we've only got two prototypes. So one was with Craig, one was on the stand with me in Glasgow. So I've managed to get the Aqua skipping stone.
Fantastic.
How about you, Craig?
I'm exactly the same because I had exactly the same issue where I'd have been on the stand. I'm wearing the standy short at the moment. What have you got to say, George?
We haven't spoken much today.
We haven't. No, literally.
Really? So you've been like ships passing, having both just arrived back?
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah. What I've got on the wrist, I'm letting the side down a little bit, is a Christopher Ward. People that know me get a bit bored of me talking about Christopher Ward, but it's a Mark I Dartmouth. I won't go on too much about my watches because this is about you guys. I'm really, keen to showcase all the brilliant work you're doing. So before we get into it, guys, if I'd have told you both a few years ago that you'd be building a fantastic British watch brand with such a passionate community around it, would you have believed me?
Probably not, I don't think, because it all just kind of happened in a bit of a whirlwind. And Sarah will probably tell you, when I get an idea in my head, it just kind of happens. And it kind of came in the head. And once I got a bit of traction, I was like, full speed ahead with this.
And I definitely wouldn't have. So, yeah, even down to Craig starting off with straps, I let him go for it and was the supportive wife, but I didn't think that I'd be here. No way.
So that's... Go on, Craig, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, and after the weekend we've had, it still all feels pretty surreal from... I don't know if you want us to go through the journey, but we shipped our first watch in June 24 and literally launching our fourth watch this weekend, and where we've been and what we've done, I get it. I feel a little bit numb. It's surreal. I could never have dreamt where we're at right now.
Yeah. So you mentioned the idea. What was the genesis of Golby Watches? Where did it really start?
So I've been a watch geek since I was a kid. I remember having a Timex when I was 10 years old. I also remember ruining it because it said water resistant. I went swimming in it and I was really upset because the water went inside it and absolutely ruined it. But yeah, I've been collecting watches for years. And then the turning point was during COVID. I brought a new rubber strap with a deployment clasp for an Oris Aquis.
Okay.
And I paid 280 quid for it. And it's beautiful. And I was like, hang on, 280 quid for a piece of rubber and a piece of metal? Somebody's having us over here. And obviously during COVID, had time in our hands, got into the straps. That did really, really well. And then I'd always had the idea for the first watch concept in my head with the diving bezel and the internal chapter ring as well to give you 2 time zones. And I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong here, so was it around about, we were on holiday, was it summer 23, where I spoke to some manufacturers, got some 2D designs done, it started getting traction, and we were there camping. I was like, we're going to do this. And I was like, worst case scenario, I've paid more money than I should for 6 prototypes of watches I've designed with my name on them. And then you remember it well, don't you? You're laughing.
I do,
and
because I've heard that so many times, that excuse.
excuse. Yeah. But no, and then obviously we did crowdfunding, which was exceptionally stressful. But since then, it's just we've just rocketed, and I think we're at where we're at now because we've both got day jobs. We're doing this, it's our passion project, and it maintains to be our passion project. But we're just making watches we absolutely love. We're having fun with it. It's not going to be for everybody, but every watch we design is one we want to wear. And if people want to get on board, absolutely fantastic. But if not, the choice and variety in the market, particularly the British microbrand space, there's something for everybody at every price point. And I absolutely love that about British watches right now.
So that's really interesting. Saying about doing other stuff alongside, how do you balance that, guys? I mean, do you balance that? But then how do you balance that?
Well, the last 3 days has been very challenging, hasn't it?
Right.
But yeah, no, I don't know. We just seem to find time for it. And I think because, some people find time to go cycling, to the gym, whatever one want to do as a hobby. We find time to sit down, do this. And I think we're quite fortunate. We both work so semi-hybrid, so you can slot bits in here and there at the same time.
Yeah. No, still working part-time, having had a child. So child's now going into senior school. But now those hours that I used to be spending all the time with Dominic, like on Golby Watches Mondays and Fridays. So Tuesday to Thursday, council worker. And then long weekend being a Golby. So
yes.
It's nice to be able to do something that takes us all over the place and have weekends away. We don't get date nights and things like that. We're just sat there having team meetings in a pub talking watches.
We did get to go to the theatre at British Watchmakers Day the night before, didn't we?
I remember you telling me, actually, Craig.
We made a point of that.
As you should. And when I guess for you guys, did it go from being an idea and a concept and a prototype to feeling real, to feeling like we actually have something here?
I think for me, I don't know about you, Sarah, but for me, after we did the crowdfunding, which was a roller coaster in itself, because I never realised on Kickstarter people can cancel mid-campaign, and then we got funded. We pushed a big high five post out, and then we get an email that's there's been 7 backers on stolen credit cards in Germany, so they get pulled, and we go below the funding threshold again, and then you go in again, and yeah, so it was that roller coaster. Then obviously getting them made until we physically had the watches in June 24 and shipped the first watches. For me, that was when it became real.
Yeah, I think for me it was the first British Watchmakers Day. And I just remember after that, there was a wrap-up party at Time and Tide. And we went and we just sat there in a complete daze. We had hardly eaten all day. It was just so back to back with people buying watches, talking about the watches. And then we had a fantastic day, and we celebrated by going home and having a McDonald's on the route on the way home, because we were just so tired, and we just sat there silently eating McDonald's, and it was like, wow, this is real. So
celebratory McDonald's.
Yeah, but I think we pretty much sat in silence at that point, because before we'd left Time and Tide, it was exceptionally surreal, because we were leaving the building, and all of a sudden you were talking to Nicholas from Fears, and Roger Smith come over talking to me, and I was like, this is watch royalty. What's he doing talking to me? It was really, really bizarre in a good way.
And I have to say, go on, Sarah, carry on. Sorry.
So, just talking about how to 10x the business and all the reasons why not become your first list of what you need to do to get the business going. And so awesome information and advice from, Watch Royalty. It was amazing, but so surreal.
And was this Watchmakers Day your third, was it?
No, it was our first one. That was 24, wasn't it, I think?
So this year was your third one, though?
No, sorry.
Second one.
Sorry. Yeah, no, 25 is the first one.
Right. And I have to say, and I'm not just saying this because you're sat in front of me, albeit virtually, the hype around your stand this year was phenomenal. Other stands were busy, but I think your stand had real hype and real keenness and people quite energized to see what you were doing. And I think that's so cool. You might not have even realized that because you were so immersed in helping people, but it was great.
I think it's because we like a good old gossip as well. So, if you probably met Adam or Alice on the day, they're just as bad as us. And we just sit and, stand and chat to people. It's part of the journey is just getting to know the people that are buying our watches. So Julie that popped by the weekend at Glasgow, she's already got 2 of our watches, looking at a third.
Brilliant.
And you just get to know people. And for us, it's part of the journey. The community is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely. I haven't told you this yet. I had a guy come up to me on Saturday and he said, "My name is such and such. You sold me a watch." And I was like, "Okay." And then he said his name, and I was like, "I shipped that watch to you last week." He went, "Yeah," and he had it on his wrist. It was like absolutely surreal.
Yeah. And I guess if you think about kind of the journey you've been on, guys, in your minds, what is it that you want Golby to represent?
Do you want to go or do you want me to go? I don't mind.
Let you go.
I think for me, we need to keep it representing what it represents right now. We make really bright colours. We've got our DNA, it's texture, it's colour, it's fun, in a really well-made watch. And every watch we do, we're learning, we're refining, and keep pushing the boundaries. And I don't want to use old cliche, but continuous improvement and that kind of jazz. But keep doing this and just keeping it fun. The day it doesn't become fun, it's not going to represent who we are. At a minute for me, I'm just having an absolute blast, basically doing lots of really fun, quirky stuff, going to really fun places, making stuff we're really passionate about. And I think for me, the longer we can keep doing that and pushing it forwards, that's what Golby represents to me.
Yeah, it would be great. I joke, don't I, Craig, about having a whole collection of watches, almost like one for every scenario. So that, because he's got so many watches, but to be able to have a whole collection of Golbys for different scenarios, because when we did the skipping stone, I think people were a bit nervous that we were moving away from a diver watch. And so it was the case of, well, your coastal, you go with divers watches. And we were like, well, that's not necessarily our brand identity. Our brand identity is texture and colour, as Craig says. So it was interesting having a bit of like, oh, how's it going to go down? But I like to think it's been pretty well received so far. So, yeah.
Well, it has. But again, the thing I liked about it was a watch reviewer who reviewed the coastal. And the first time I WhatsApped him a few images, he went straight away, he said, "You can tell that's a Golby." And people at the weekend were saying to me when they saw it, "You can tell that's a Golby just by looking at it with nothing else." And it's got no branding on it, this watch.
So it's that DNA almost, as opposed to being a diver's watch. You can feel the DNA right through the models, certainly that I've seen, and this release, guys. I think you can feel also people talking about it as well. I certainly can in the communities and forums that I'm part of. Someone on one of the groups the other day was not on your group, but on another group, showing off their new Golby that they just picked up.
Nice.
And it was fantastic. I felt excited for you, genuinely. It was just lovely to see, right? Someone coming forward and showcasing your stuff in an unsolicited way, just wanting to show off their lovely new watch.
I love seeing that, and we use the phrase, isn't it? I think you started off with this phrase: "We love seeing the Golbys in the wild."
Yeah.
And I remember Watchmakers Day this year. In the first 15 minutes, about 4 people come up wearing one of our watches, and it just was so lovely to see.
Yeah. So thinking about, we've spoken in a warm and fuzzy way, but obviously things go wrong. Right, I know, Craig, you just mentioned, Kickstarters getting people dropping out. And have you had any, mistakes that you've learned from? Have you ever had moments of imposter syndrome. I know you're balancing family life and business. Would you better share some of that with people? What's the reality under the surface?
So, in terms of mistakes, I don't think we've made any massive clangers as such because we've learnt on the journey. I think if we're going to coin out one mistake, it's on the original OG. Because we didn't realise different materials, we couldn't loom the bezel on the white versions, which is a bit of a clanger, and that's part of the kind of manufacturing journey. I think one of the things I learned really quickly is, you've got to stay true to yourself. And I purposely, on the first watch, didn't really show it to anybody until we're ready to kind of go to Kickstarter and go crowdfunding, because I've seen so many brands who are influenced by other people. And I think for me, what is kind of the opposite of making a mistake, it's just staying true to us and not listening to everybody else. So whether that's a mistake or not, I don't really know. The only things we did do from the prototypes to the main thing is a couple of people I know and respect in the industry gave a bit of a steer on some technical things, like going from male end links to female end links to make it wear slightly better. Going from a 60 clip bezel to a 120 clip bezel, so it's better, and that's been part of our DNA all through it. But you mentioned imposter syndrome there. We've done quite a few watch shows recently, and we've been very fortunate to get invited to the Time and Time event in New York the weekend, hence why I'm jet lagged. And I was setting up in there on Friday, and you got the Bowcroft boys in there doing their launch of their collab GMT, and then Fears are in there, Denison, Bremont, Christopher Ward were next to us, and I was like, it's little old Golby, and that was like, it was a blend of like imposter syndrome, really proud, really excited, and also scared at the same time, all kind of rolled into one kind of 15 minutes when I kind of sat there polishing the watches, putting them in his watch tray.
And being a British microbrand, you've just been to the States, Craig. Being a British microbrand in a crowded market, trying to build trust with, people that have a huge amount to choose from, how do you achieve that?
I don't really know. I think people seem to like us because we're honest, we're not chasing sales, we're having fun of doing it. And you say it's a competitive space. Yes, there's lots of brands out there, but there's also an enormous amount of buyers. When I go on socials, I see we're in a lot of similar kind of groups for various different brands, different kind of niches in the market. There's so much out there, and so much demand for British micro brands. And I also think we do quite well because we're a little bit different. And, because, again, we're not chasing sales, I think our price point is very reasonable. And I think we fall into that impulse purchase at the same time. And I think that's where we've got a lot of traction.
What about you, Sarah?
Yeah, I think a bit the same. So in terms of we'll chat to people, I think people that came in spoke to us the weekend. So I had Adam with me, who comes, he jokes we let him out of the box every now and then. So British Watchmakers Day and then Glasgow, we let him out to come and play. And he loves it. He's a complete watch geek. And he stands at the table, and rather than necessarily selling our watches, he's taking people's watches off them and eyeing up and like finding out what they're wearing. I'm like, Adam, you meant to be working. And he's so like laid back with it, and that's why we like him working with us, because he is very much like us. But then I remember I had one gentleman who was split between two watches, and he was there on Saturday, and some other people would be like, right, which one are you going to go for? Let's try out on this strap, let's try out on that strap. And instead I took a step back and said, I'm over here. If you want to know anything more, give me a shout, but I'm not going to hover over you. And just left him to it, because I know that I don't, as a consumer, like that pushy, aggressive sales tactic. So I'm not going to do it to other people. But equally, if you give me cheek on the table, I'm going to have a bit of banter with you, and tell you why you need to pick. Well, why do you need to pick between the two? Just buy them both. So I think we just like to engage with people and just have a bit of a laugh.
Yeah.
Although Craig says it's like our side passion, we do take it seriously. And each time we get a sale, I joke that we do a happy dance, because every one sale to us is massive.
It's meaningful.
It's meaningful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that means so much to us. So as opposed to another organisation, one sale might not be a fat lot. But for us, when we hear that cha-ching, we're both like, oh, what's that? And we're still really engaged and enthusiastic about it. It is a passion project.
Yeah.
It means so much to us.
But it's like you used the word work there. I don't see it as work, and I don't think you do. And it's like, I had microbrand Dave with me at the weekend, and after you had Adam, and he sent me a message today saying it's the most fun he's had in months and months. I know. I hope his wife's not listening, but it's like, but he said like it was like as he said like we've been on our feet for 10, 11 hours, and he said I've had that much fun. It doesn't feel like work at all, and that's how I view it. It's just having fun with people.
And you mentioned people, Craig. Something you and I have spoken about a few times, mate, is the watch community. And I know that feels a bit ethereal and a bit kind of hippy-dippy, but I think the watch community is a wonderful place. And I'd be really keen to understand from you guys the importance of community and where you see yourselves in that community.
Do you want to go there? Sarah, or do you want me to go?
I'll go for this one.
Go on then, go.
So normally it's quite Craig dominated. So groups like CTC, they're very much chatting away to Craig, and so we have phenomenal community from that respect. But then our Golby Watches Facebook group, we love the banter in that group. Instagram, we talk to so many people on a one-to-one basis, so we might not necessarily be really active out there, but we are very much chatting to people and building those relationships. It's quite funny because although I've changed the name to Sarah and Craig, people always assume that they're talking to Craig, so I get a lot of all right mate or all right bro, so I just go with it rather than correcting people. But the community is massive. I've made some phenomenal friends. I know Craig has supported other people from a manufacturing point of view, because we learn lessons along the way. We're only too happy to share our Kickstarter journey with people because it's a bit of an enigma. People don't quite know what they're getting into. So we're happy to share warts and all in terms of, we had this point and we had that point, chasing payments at the end because people, even though they've put a card on, they don't necessarily have to pay. So then you chasing down payments and just normalizing some of the behavior that we have. But then at the same time, going to events, and after Glasgow, I went out to dinner with some of the brand owners and the organisers.
Brilliant.
And it's just lovely just to sit there and say, what on earth have we just done? And amazingly, we all managed to have a good giggle. So many people thought that Adam was Craig this weekend, although I'm amazed that so many people didn't think Dave was Sarah. I'm shocked by that. But yeah, it's a really great community in terms of finding out what next project people have got in the pipeline. And sometimes they're a bit cloak and dagger, but then others are like, oh, do you want to have a sneak peek? And we're very much the same. So sometimes you'll get us and we'll be like, oh, this is next. And other times we're like, no, keep it quiet. So yeah, the community is fantastic. Have you got anything to add from your perspective, Craig?
Yeah, well, obviously you run Instagram, I run Facebook, and the groups on Facebook, and George, I said join a lot of these. It's everyone's together. I like that. I'm not sure on that question about that, and everyone really helps each other. Is really respectful, and I love that so much about it. But I think one thing people probably don't see is brands behind the curtain. So when we did our first show in June 24, it was a week after we shipped the first watch. We were in this room with all these big brands at Watch It Fair in Birmingham, and I was like, oh, what's going to happen? And what I've realised since then is everyone is absolutely amazing. We all want everyone else to do really well. You know, we want to help each other, support each other. So from a consumer point of view and a brand owner's kind of point of view, the communities are so good. And I've got to give a shout out to the boys at Bowcraft, Krim and Matt, because they've really helped me with international paperwork and this kind of stuff. And, you know, the last 2 years we've been back to back at Watchmakers Day. And again, we have a laugh and a joke there, and just the community spirit is so strong, you know, on both sides of that curtain.
Yeah, just saying that as well. I don't think we would have had such a successful first launch if it hadn't been thanks to the Red Bar community.
Yes.
So specifically, like Leeds guys back then,
amazing.
They were phenomenal. Literally, one person we sent a watch to, and then they ping pong it around their group, and they're all sharing it on socials. And I think it was our first British watchmaker special. I joked that I was going to like have a little competition between the lads in terms of who had took the best shot and having people vote for them. But yeah, we get invited to all sorts of events like that. So Craig's just took our little one to Tunbridge Wells to their Red Bar meetup, and the fact that they're happy for him to sit in the corner and play his iPad while we talk watches. Yeah, everyone's just so welcoming, and I really hope that's the experience for most other people. Can't speak for other people, but that's the experience we've had.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I've been in and around watches, buying, selling, whatever, helping others for longer than I or my wife probably care to admit, and my bank balance cares to admit. But I completely share your point, guys, in that it's that human connection that sits behind the watch community that we're lucky to be a part of. And for me, watches have almost become an excuse to have a conversation with someone that you might not otherwise meet. Right. I mean, I now know that, Craig, you're a Coventry fan. You know, I'm an Arsenal fan, but our initial connection was through watches. Right.
Yes.
And talking and nerding out. And, you know, it means so much to have that kinship and something in common that you can unite around, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
So we're going to come back to connection in a little while. And that's a bit of a tease on the charity auction, because there is a little bit around having conversations and supporting each other, but we will come back to that. Before we do, though, not to put you on the spot, Sarah, we had a listener question on, it was either the last episode or the episode before, and it was a listener's wife asked us about women in watches, and specifically why there seems to be such a dominance of males and, you know, male celebrities endorsing watches and in the industry. It would be really great to get an insight for people listening around your perspective on women in watches, maybe some assumptions and stereotypes, and how we might shake things up in that space.
Yeah, cool. I'm going to be a bit crass, and I love watch events because it's one of the only times I can go to the toilet and not have a queue. And I use that as a joke every time.
Yeah.
It's literally the only time I can walk right down to the last cubicle and they'll all be empty.
Right.
I joke, but that's the reality of the events. You're lucky if you talk to a few women there.
Right.
I'm liking that I'm seeing more women on my side of the table. So we're getting Bettina. I always pronounce her brand incorrectly, so Moles or Moels. But her work is absolutely phenomenal. So I'm starting to see more women actually in the industry, but what I'm not seeing is the consumer representation. So one of the key things that we say is we don't gender our watches. They're unisex. I mean, what makes a watch for a man versus it being for a woman? In the industry, in the watch industry, it means by making it small, making it pastel colours, maybe putting a mother of pearl dial on there. And of course, you need some bling. because all women like bling. I say that as I hide any bling that I've got on, but I never wear a blingy watch.
Yeah.
So diamonds and things like that aren't for me. I want something that's robust, that's going to actually be a daily wear. So I think for me, one of the biggest things that I would like to see happen in the industry is stop gendering watches, stop doing stereotypes, just make watches. Make watches that you think people are going to like, but don't think that's a man's watch, that's a woman's watch. Because I think we've sold equally as many, if not more, coastals, which is our smaller model, to men than we have women. And in fact, I had one gentleman say to me, I love the skipping stone, but can you do another version of it at 36 mil? And so, yeah, I think that would be lovely to see. But I'm seeing some phenomenal women in the industry. So shout out to Katia Audsley.
Yes.
She is a powerhouse of the British Watchmakers Alliance. The events that she puts together, and if you see her going through that event, she knows how she wants it done and she gets it done and she does it to an amazing standard. But then all the behind the scenes that she's doing with us all, it's phenomenal. She's doing great work. But then you've got people like Sophie's Watch World, who we've worked so much with, because I loved that she takes the mickey a little bit. She styles her watches brilliantly. Her wardrobe I would kill for. But even more so, she knows what she's talking about. And it's really horrible when you see comments that she gets in terms of she's just been to Geneva to Watches and Wonders and she's talking about what she's been buying and then she gets a comment like, oh, did your husband buy that for you?
Oh, wow.
And you're like, why is that even relevant? Why is it needed? But you're going to have trolls out there. But she deals with them brilliantly.
She does.
She calls them out and I love it. And then Lucy, who's just moved from Paulin to Bowcroft, she's amazing saleswoman who knows what she's talking about. And yeah, she's just off gallivanting the world. I wish Craig would let me go to half of the shows that she's getting to go to. So we'll talk about that later when he's recovered from the jet lag.
Should we touch on the shows for a second?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've been so excited for you guys, what you're doing, where you've been going. Do you want to just mention to everyone where you've been and the purpose of it?
I'll let you go first.
Oh,
where have you been this weekend, Sarah?
According to everyone that I spoke to who knew where Craig was, I drew the short straw and I was at Glasgow at the Watch Collectors Club. And I definitely didn't because Glasgow is my favourite show, I think. I shouldn't say that. But the people there are amazing. So, yeah, we had a show 10 till 5 in Glasgow. And so managed to get in there on Friday, back on Sunday. And, yeah, it's tiring, but it was fantastic. Great people there.
Yeah.
How about you, Craig? Where were you?
Wow. You know, George might be familiar with the Time and Tide boutique in Great Portland Street in London.
Too familiar, yeah.
Andrew has just opened a brand new one in New York about 2 months ago. And, you know, I've been talking to the guys quite a lot. I've been there quite a bit, spent too much money in there. And yeah, to get the invite to go and do the Great British Weekender with some of the global brands in there was absolutely phenomenal. And, you know, yeah, so I've spent all weekend in there straight. And yeah, it's really good because 50% of what we sell goes to the States. It all has done. But to go there and be able to talk to people, you know, and introduce us to a lot of new brands as well was absolutely phenomenal. We had a family come up to us. The son brought a watch, the dad brought a watch, and then the mum couldn't decide, so she brought 2 watches. And like
Wow.
they'd never even heard of us. And it's a really different audience. It's like, I think I text you. In the first 4 minutes of the doors opening, I sold 4 watches. It was just phenomenal. And
That's
people
amazing.
walked in, drew to the colour, and yeah, it was unreal. Yeah. So we've had
It's
2 busy
slightly insane.
weekends.
Yeah, because we launched the watch at 10 o'clock as well. So the skipping stone, it was insane because I was launching it on the website as the doors were opening. Craig was meant to be asleep. He wasn't asleep at all. He was checking up on me and making sure it was going okay. And then because we overlapped the shows, we had to check on stock, and we had a shared spreadsheet that we were having to enter everything on. It was quite an insane time, especially from 3 o'clock, because that's when we overlapped mainly.
Of course, yeah.
And then when I went home, I was still watching what Craig was doing. So watching the spreadsheet and trying to get sense out of him whilst he was really busy. So yeah, it was quite a strange but amazing day.
We still need to tally up and see who sold more on the day. I need to do that.
I'm going by what the spreadsheet said at the last point, because he didn't update it, which meant that my sales are higher than his. So done. I won.
Yeah, done.
I
Motion carried. Sorry, sure... mate.
No, I'm pretty sure you didn't.
You didn't do the admin, so...
Yeah.
I was too busy. Yeah, and but no, sorry, you go.
You see the little competition, but it goes through our watches. So the Aqua Reef original was very much Craig, and then the Coastal was predominantly me, and then the Aqua Reef 40 and the Skipping Stone has been a collab. But we get quite competitive with watching his sales. But he always reminds me.
Oh. This one here, we've sold over 30 of this in less than 48 hours, and Sarah said she didn't want to make this one. You didn't want to make this one, did you? And it's like...
I said I didn't like the colourway, and so I think in hindsight I am eating my words, but yeah, it's one of those you've just got to trust each other and hope that he's proven wrong occasionally, but also that he's proven right.
You want him to be right, yeah.
Well, no, but I don't want to give away much from the future, but there's something I didn't want to make, and Sarah put her foot down, and that's coming out later in the year, so we'll see how that goes.
Ooh, that's a nice teaser. Well, after the next bit, we'll talk about plans for the future a little bit. So, guys, we've talked a lot today about community, about conversation, about helping each other, people behind the hobby and the industry. And now that leads us into something which I've been really, really excited about. Like, I've seen the pictures and I've been part of the idea behind this, and it's something really special that we want to announce that we're going to be doing. So what we have is a one-of-one Golby watch, and guys, I'll let you explain the watch in a second and what makes it unique, etc. But we're going to be auctioning this for charity, with all proceeds from the charity going to one that means a lot to all of us. So it's called Andysmanclub. It's a charity that does fantastic, incredible work around men's mental health and suicide prevention through things like peer-to-peer support groups and encouraging men to talk, which we can be notoriously bad at. So before we go on to the charity and the auction, could one of you explain a bit about the watch that we're going to be auctioning?
Do you want me to go?
Yeah, you go for it.
So when we get to make a watch range, we have Pantone wheels aplenty. We have so many iterations, prototypes of so many different colours. We get to a final range. But when we did the Aqua Reef 40, there was a couple of combinations we didn't really get to make. So we spoke to the manufacturer and said, could you make us a couple of these? One-of-ones, complete unique combinations. They'll never be seen anywhere again, and they are numbered 1-of-1 on the back, so very unique. And yeah, you're auctioning off one of these for an absolutely amazing charity. As you said then, we don't talk, blokes. We bottle it up, we go to the pub, and we've all got friends and family that have kind of gone through mental health struggles, and anything we can do to help that one person, to have that one conversation, that little extra touch, and make that little difference, absolutely amazing. So when we spoke, I spoke to Sarah, we were absolutely delighted to donate this watch because it's something very unique. The watch means something to us, and I hope whoever ends up getting it, it means something to them. And if it can have that little bit of an impact, on somebody's mental health or well-being, absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. And so firstly, thank you guys for making this available for us to auction. Craig, you mentioned mental health. I've had struggles with mental health. I'm sure people around us have had struggles with mental health. I actually lost a colleague quite recently to suicide. So this is an enormous thing for, me personally to be able to back and support. And I guess what we're looking to do is immediately after this podcast goes live, and that will be on Thursday, the 14th of May, we're going to be launching a 7-day auction on the Mainspring Watches eBay page. We will share the link in the show notes and on all of our socials. We've actually spoken to the charity. They're also going to be hopefully sharing it as well, and they're going to be really obviously happy to kind of receive the proceeds for what is ultimately a fantastic charity and a really worthwhile cause. So hopefully we're going to raise lots of money for charity, and someone on the back of it will get a beautiful one-of-one Golby watch.
Yeah, let's hope people dig deep. 1 for the watch, 2 for the charity, 3 for, helping the community.
Absolutely. And even if, people listening or watching and they think, I'm not quite in a position to bid, which we understand, share the auction with others, really help us to spread the word, because even that in itself could help us to raise more money for what is a really wonderful charity doing really great work.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more with that.
Yeah. So with that, we'll move on to the final act, and it's about the next steps, the future for Golby. So you've achieved an enormous amount. We've reflected on some of that. What's next, guys? Are there some things that you're looking forward to for the future?
Well, we've not had the conversation since we got back about what I can or can't say today, so I might get myself in trouble here. I don't really know.
Or just turn your camera off somehow.
Yeah.
And plug your Wi-Fi.
Well, look, we're 48 hours into releasing our latest watch, Skipping Stone, which, and again, if anyone's listening who's come and looked at it or bought one, thank you so much, because we're absolutely outstanding. You were messaging me about how overwhelmed you were at the weekend, Sarah, because we had a dream target in our head of what we wanted to do. We've not only hit that target, we've probably put another 50% on top of that and a little bit more in less than 2 days. So what's next is, I think we're going to have a stock issue. First and foremost, we're going to have to combat. We've got something very special. Can I say about this? What's coming out in August, Sarah? Am I allowed to say?
Go for it.
So everything we do is inspired by the Cornish coast. Okay. And Mevagissey, you've seen it in lots of our blogs, and what we talk about is, and our favourite artist has got a studio down there. Okay. And we've done a collab where he has hand-drawn a very special dial. We've etched into enamel on an absolutely wonderful watch. And we're looking to get that out end of August or in September time. And I can't give anything away about the watch after this one, only to say I should have prototypes some point in June. But it's, yeah, this watch really, every watch we do excites me. But we're doing something with a movement modification. It's got a little bit of a quirk. It's got all our DNA in it. And yeah, I'm super excited to say that, but I probably can't say any more, can I?
Yeah, so that's 2 separate watches that he's just summed up. You can tell he's jet lagged because he's talking about etching in enamel. So
I've actually got it here and it's wonderful, but I can't put it on camera.
Yeah, but it's not etched in enamel, but it is an enamel dial.
Beautiful.
But yeah, the other watch that he's referring to, I heard someone else describe it and I was like, oh, it's not just me then. Sometimes there's a watch in your head that you just need to make. So it's very different to what we've made previously. But we just need to get it out there and see what happens. So yeah, we've been annoying our manufacturer today, asking when the prototypes are coming. because we're just so excited to see what actually happens and whether it is possible to make what we're thinking. So yeah, that will be interesting to see actually, does it come across as we imagined it?
Well, it's a concept in a watch I've never seen before. So
wow.
Yeah.
You're really pushing the boundaries then. And that is, I mean, it's such a brilliant tease, guys. I'm not going to dig any deeper because I don't want to create a marital divide about announcing a watch on a podcast. So but I think that gives everyone real cause to keep their eyes peeled, to stay plugged into socials, to see what's coming, right? Because the future is exciting and the releases will certainly be too. So guys, closing thoughts, closing remarks. If you were going to, if someone's listening to this or watching this and you wanted them to remember one thing about Golby, and maybe you can do one each, what would it be?
I'll let you go first.
Oh, no. You go first while I think.
What? I've said it already a couple of times. And it's 3 words: colour, texture and fun. That's us.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's about capturing a moment. So skipping stone, for me, is just capturing the moment. So for us, that watch is just literally skimming stones on a private little cove in Penturin and just capturing that moment and that happiness. And hopefully we bring that out in the watches that we've created. I'm not very good. I'm a trainer by day, and I always get people to do a 1-word wrap up. They never do a 1-word wrap up. So sorry, I just did that to you.
No, it's and actually I think it's quite testament to the brand that it's not just one word, it's multiple things. It means different things to you as individuals, but also to others. And I'm just so excited to watch your journey, guys. And I know so many people are as well. So with that, I'll thank you both, Sarah, Craig, for joining me. I mean, you can see, even if anyone who's watching the video, we're getting darker and darker and darker because it's getting late. Craig, I know you're exhausted. I'll just give one more mention to the auction. So it'll be going live on eBay, hopefully immediately after this episode goes live. It'll be open for 7 days. It's going to be in support of a truly fantastic charity, which is Andysmanclub. And you have that opportunity to grab yourself a true one-of-one special watch from Golby. We appreciate your support. If you can't, if you're not able to bid yourself, please do share it with others who might be able to. But look, it sounds a bit emotional and soppy, but watches really do bring people together. And I think the community keeps them together.
Yes.
Again, I would just say thank you to Sarah and Craig. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No, thank you, George, for inviting us on. We can talk about our watches all day long, and I really appreciate you inviting us on, and also asking us to get involved in this charity, which is such a wonderful thing to do. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Not at all. And thanks to everyone who's tuned in. We'll be back soon. Cheers, guys.